see myself on this part, but I'm sure you guys can.
I can see you.
Because that's what I've been doing.
All right, it's good to see you both. So this is actually going to make our 7th episode, believe it or not. I can't believe
Holy
it's
crap.
been that long. And yeah, I'm really happy to talk to you both this post 4th of July Thursday, which is kind of delayed for our usual, but I did some fun things at the start of the week, which I'll talk about later. Anyway, so this episode is Alligator Alcatraz. And it's a heavy one, but it's necessary. It's what's going on. It's where we're at in the game of being anti-fascist, trying to stop tyranny. So, and then from there, I think we should talk about, of course, the budget situation and what these circumstances might mean. So, I don't know, Bev, it's been a while since we heard from you. Let's start this topic with you. What do you think about the whole, from start to finish, within 9 days, they had this Alligator Alcatraz built and already have detainees?
Honestly, I'm floored by the comparisons between this and Hitler's reign. I've been seeing some clips and pictures and things like that, and just the similarities are so blatant that there's no denying it. I mean, what they're doing is literally genocide. And, it is disgusting. And just some of the comments from these MAGA people, like I was seeing one, and I think it was AOC had responded to it. No, it wasn't AOC. It was another Latin American person, but one of the MAGA people was like, "Oh, well, this is just the beginning because we can feed those alligators 65 million people." And well, 65 million people is the number of
I think that was
Latinos.
Laura Loomer that said that, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
I think it was. Yeah, I saw that too.
But I mean, how can you think like that about people? I mean, just because they have brown skin. I mean, what does it matter?
At this point, I personally feel like I'm a dead man walking. I don't know. I know I seem probably very eerily calm in saying that. But I feel like it's just kind of this where there's no sense of denial here. There's, like you were saying, it's undeniable the parallels between Auschwitz-Birkenau and this encampment. And not just that, even if you just, like, there were a couple of pictures I seen where they were comparing the Japanese internment camps, and the way that they look just from an aerial view is like, it's identical.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't fit into any of their boxes, okay? Let's just be all honest, real.
Right.
From my very existence just is that way. And I've been sitting here trying to, especially after having just went on a 3-day vacation with my kids, as part of a celebration towards Independence Day that week, it's almost just like, but what are we celebrating? Because everything that they're doing is so anti-American that I don't even recognize this country as America. I don't know what this is.
Right. And just the comments he himself was putting out, if you don't like it, you can leave. Exactly how are we supposed to leave if we don't like it?
Well, if that's the case, well then, okay, give us some severance packages. If you want to take away all of the Medicaid or whatever, give us some severance packages. You want me to take my kids and you want me to leave? Make it where I can leave. And don't just come and arrest us all for whatever crazy offense you can imagine to throw us into an encampment in the middle of the Everglades. And I can go off on so many things just on the topic of the Everglades alone. This is, first of all, a national park. Okay? This is not supposed to be a place. This was a place that was set aside for the wildlife. It is a recreational area, yes, but it is mostly a reservation site for these animals. And I don't just mean the alligators. We have saltwater crocodiles down there too. We have invasive species out the behind, pythons, but then even just the natural species. There are mangroves, there's manatees, there's specific types of species and flora and fauna that are protected in the area that are not found anywhere else in the world.
Right.
And they just don't even care. Like, who cares about that? But then even further, if we go back all the way back to Andrew Jackson and the Trail of Tears, there were native tribes that ran away from the Trail of Tears to the Bayou States, especially Florida, because they knew they were no man's lands, but they weren't afraid to trek it and to survive. And not only did these people not fear going into the wetlands where they knew there were monstrous beasts like this, they did it because they would rather face that than have to be ethnically cleansed from their land and see everybody that they were seeing already either pass away on the way of route of passage or get sick in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what that tells you about the kind of resilience we're talking about indigenous people of any sort? You really honestly think that gator infested swamps are going to keep people from trying to get free? If that's what they're in between having to deal with you or get through that? This isn't Siberia. It's not like they need a person to help them get through and then they end up eating them kind of thing. There's stuff they can eat there. There is stuff that they can access within the swamp to get away. And yes, there will be those monsters. But the idea that they even think that these are also now, because of that happening, they're sacred lands to several indigenous tribes. They were sacred lands to some tribes even before the conquistadors ever got there, who were the actual first white people to come to Florida. Okay, so there are natives that are out there protesting they were protesting the building of it just because it's sacred land and it's supposed to be protected for wildlife. And now they have defunded NOAA, and it's the Everglades. Any bad storm seasons that come through, they flush through the wetlands. Nothing stays. And it's so unpredictable. You don't know where, and there's not enough time. So here's the reality. The first big storm that we get down there that hits the Everglades, which is 90% gonna happen. I mean, it doesn't, there are some rare years where it skips by them, but it's rare. The first big storm swell that happens is going to flush that crap out of there, flood the entire thing, and the alligators that they're trying to use to threaten people aren't just going to be a threat to the detainees. They're going to be a threat to the guards there too. Because they're not going to discriminate, unlike this regime.
Right.
Absolutely.
Or even worse, it could kill everybody there. Guards, prisoners, everything.
And they're not going to care though. And I feel like they're going to consider those same guards that get put down there just collateral damage.
That's right.
And then
pretty much
they'll just wipe it away and rebuild it again and put more people down there.
Yep. And what do you want to bet that they're saying that it holds 5,000? I wonder how many they're going to top out down there.
They're already overcrowding all their other facilities, and then we're hearing that in Secot there was mistreatment and abuse to Kilmar Brego Garcia, and his case has been one of the worst tug-of-war situations. One minute this man is, coming back home and you think everything's going to be okay. The next minute they're trying to charge him with all these crazy outlandish charges in Tennessee. And oh my God, you guys, as we go into that, the discussion in Tennessee has me, I'm trying to remain as calm and collected, and I feel like I'm becoming numb because I don't know how else to deal with it. It's either get really angry or be really sad or just kind of like, and I asked my daughter earlier too, I was like, how are we supposed to deal with this? Because it doesn't feel right just to continue going through these motions every day, knowing that there's no one coming to save us. What day is it going to be that they come for us?
Yep. They always start with somebody and then they move to somebody else. It's never enough.
And these people that think it's not going to happen to them, I'm just going to say it, bullshit.
Yep.
You're on the list somewhere, no matter what.
Yeah,
Unless
if you're
you fit
not,
into his box.
you don't fit those parameters, those specific parameters of the right people, you're on a target. You know, if you're not white, if you're even partially not white, or even if you are white and don't look white enough, or a person with a Mexican last name,
Spanish last names are being targeted, and it actually has come to white people, immigrants too now. It actually has started to affect people from different places. An Australian, I believe, already, a Canadian, somebody, I believe, from one of the Scandinavian countries. I don't remember if it's Sweden or Switzerland, but one of those two. There's been a few. It's a handful, and it's not quite nearly as it is our Hispanics. But the point is, it's happening, and I'm just wondering, when does it happen to J.D. Vance's wife and Melania Trump?
Right. But see, they got
and by extension, Barron.
Right.
I mean,
well, that's another thing, and people have been making that argument, and they're like, well, it can't happen to Barron because he's got Trump for a father. And some people said that to me when I started kind of getting really antsy about the birthright citizenship situation and how they split it with the Supreme Court. I'm telling you, the Supreme Court is totally set and bought and sold. There's no way. There's no way. All the things that they're doing, there's just no way. But when I said that there were a few people that were like, but you're an American. And I was like, yeah, I have 4 kids, and let me explain something to you, okay? And let me actually break this down. If you know anything about Puerto Rico, okay. So my son's father, he has an American father, but his mother was born on base in Germany to a Puerto Rican couple. Her father did sign up and serve in the United States military, and he was stationed during Vietnam briefly in Germany with his wife, and she happened to be pregnant and gave birth to his mother on a German base. So she got dual citizenship to Germany and America. However, again, with saying that both of her parents are actually Puerto Rican citizens, what you need to understand about Puerto Rico is Puerto Ricans don't actually have birthright citizenship. They were granted citizenship as a territory under the Jones Act. And if he repeals that, as he has already started to repeal birthright citizenship, and he does not like Puerto Rico, okay? He don't like Puerto Rico. He's made that very clear. He could repeal every single Puerto Rican's citizenry, which would mean that by default, my son's grandmother would become a German citizen instantly. Okay? That's all she would have left. And even though her son was born with another American, he would have one German parent, who's technically Puerto Rican German, crazy as that sounds. Okay? And he would have one American parent, which would mean by default my son now only has, depending on what their consideration is, if only one American parent is enough to substantiate you being a citizen, then okay, yes, but how do we know that that's going to be enough, especially in situations where I just talked about someone who's actually a brown person? You think that, I mean, in the worst case scenario, let's imagine this. He would try to, I really truly believe that this man would try to undo all of those different blocks to completely erase those citizenship clauses. And then that would, by default, make us people with no country.
Yep. You're absolutely right.
And it would apply to me too. Not because of the fact that I'm 27% Native American. He's already talked about the fact that he doesn't believe that they're American citizens because they have their own nations. He's already trying to undo it by their own treaty clauses to be able to substantiate their nations by saying, well, you can't be a citizen of America and also a nation member. Which actually you can. That was why the treaties were made that way. But he's trying to undo that because he doesn't want the brown people here. And he only wants the white people that are actually in with the supreme crowd, not those that actually are open-minded and accepting. So if you're a white person with a mixed family, you're out the door unless you're in his cabinet. That's the only reason why Vance and his wife are okay. It's the only reason why Melania is okay. Which is actually not uncommon with white supremacists. They've had their token people forever. This is something they do. So what I was going to say, though, that really has me, like, a bunch of new laws went into effect in different states on July 1st, as they usually do, right? And even though I am in Oregon, I have 2 sons that live in Tennessee. They're both adults. I've explained a little bit about my sons with DMD to you guys before. Obviously, with having Duchenne muscular dystrophy, they are both adults, but they are completely disabled. Medicaid is what keeps them alive. Like, my son has to, my oldest son has to go to sleep every night with a CPAP or he will not be able to breathe on his own. The cost to upkeep those and everything is a lot. So, okay. Tennessee enacted 3 new laws that have me very worried. The first one is they're making it where any person that is found to be earning an income off of a rental unit of any type that is rented to an illegal, undocumented immigrant is going to be charged up to $3,000 a day. And then if they get caught doing it more than once, then they can be charged different degrees of criminal offenses and even be incarcerated for it. So that's going to make all these people that already have homes possibly lose their homes. I don't want to go into details about how that could affect my kids, but just know it could affect them. Okay? It's a big deal. The second one is also, this is a huge deal because my sons have to go to a specialist every couple of weeks, again, to stay alive. They have to travel like an hour to the specialist. This is not uncommon with many disabled families, okay? Because specialist doctors are usually only in specific hospitals throughout any state. All right. So they have a special van that they got with funding and everything to be for. It's a wheelchair accessible van because they're both fully wheelchair bound. If anyone is found in the transport along with any kind of illegal or undocumented immigrant of any sort, they can be charged with felonious trafficking. So if anyone is in a caregiver role in any way for my children that has that as a status issue, my sons traveling with them to go to their doctor could be charged as felons for traveling with them. Okay. The third one is they changed their classification for driver's situation from misdemeanors to criminal offense felonies. It used to be you get so many, you get in trouble, you lose your license, different kinds of revocations, but you didn't go to jail, okay? Now, if you get caught without a driver's license, depending on how many times, you get a class A, B, or C. And if you've already gotten to C, then you get to go be incarcerated for like 10 years. So, if anybody that I knew who couldn't get a driver's license had to be in a predicament where they relied on those people because they were the only able-bodied persons who could drive in the event of an emergency, they could be made a felon. But yeah, we have people like Diddy getting off. What is there to even say anymore, my fellow wordsmiths?
Ugh.
For the first time in my freaking life, I'm lost for words. I mean,
I
seriously.
know, that's me too. Me too. I see everything every day. All of this just new, just crap, and it just gets worse and worse and worse every time I look at the news. And I'm like, I used to be able to say something about this, and now I just don't know. I don't know what to say anymore. And part of what I do for a living is putting down words, putting words to something, and I can't do that for any of this crap anymore.
I was just reflecting and I was like, I did, and I know you did, you both did too, all the things I knew to do. And it feels like it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there's probably a lot of people who feel that way, but the biggest thing that we have to do within our roles is not to give up hope, because we are the ones that inspire other people to keep holding on for some hope. But in World War II, we were the ones that we came late, and we also did a lot of wrong, especially to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But
Mm-hmm.
there's no excusing or exonerating any of that. But in the end, the people that liberated Auschwitz-Birkenau were American soldiers. And to think that we have something built on American land the week of 4th of July, the day before the 4th of July, getting its first detainees, that resembles anything like Auschwitz-Birkenau should be the biggest wake-up call for every American that ever gave a shit about July 4th, 1776.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying not to cry as I say that, because this is the biggest. These people that call themselves Christians, this is what I got to say to them, okay? If everything that you say is true, out of your own books, out of your own prophecies in your own book of Revelation, you are the ones that have elevated the very man who's doing everything that looks exactly like what the Antichrist is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would implore you to start really thinking, if you actually believe that Jesus Christ came down to die for your sins, to allow you to celebrate doing to the littlest of his like this, and that you're actually saved, you need a rude awakening, because I'm going to tell you, you're exactly the ones that he's talking about, that he's going to say, "Depart from me, I know you not."
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And if you don't believe, that's fine. But you can tell them that same thing, because out of their own doctrine, all of the signs are pointing to this man. And there is no excuse for you to be going around trying to elevate and call out things in the name of a person called Jesus Christ while you are elevating those types of behaviors, because they are not the same. They are not the same. And that is the reason why there has been an apostasy. That is the reason why there are so many people that left the church. Some of them because they actually do know the spirit that is Jesus. And it's not that there isn't actually that essence within people. It's that it's very rare to find someone who's willing to go against the entire empire, to stand up at the risk of their own reputation and everything they have and everything they love, to die saying that something is wrong. And you don't get to wear a cross and call yourself that, and then think that it's okay to be singing YMCA and celebrating the fact that you want to feed alligators human beings. And it's not even a question, it's not an accusation, it's not a generalization, it's not me making some crap up about you because it's a political cartoon and I'm making fun of you. No, this is stuff that they are literally posting on their own social media out of their own
Mm-hmm.
typing, out of their own mouths, with their chests fully inflated, like they're proud of it, and it makes them patriotic. No, it makes you hateful and sadistic.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so.
I mean, my great grandfather fought in World War II against the fucking Nazis, and this is where we're at now. He's rolling in his grave as we speak.
Mine too. And I got told just a few days before I went on my vacation by my mother that I should not shame my sister for her vote, and I got so angry. And I'm going to say this for every single MAGA that has not opened up to waking up to seeing what's going on after what just happened with this budget spending bill that was a complete shaft right up your behind, out your mouth. You've been impaled, my friends. If you still haven't come to realize that yet, you still ain't felt that yet, you better get repentant real fast, because we're going to remember. He is going to eventually no longer exist, because none of us live forever. And the day that he takes his last breath, many are going to celebrate just like y'all did in the streets over the erection of something like Alligator Auschwitz. And you're going to be angry about that, but you're going to be the ones that get to live in shame forever, because no, I'm not going to be told that I shouldn't shame you when you decided to vote for this. And you know what someone else said? I seen a posting, I think it was on Threads. Let's stop saying Trump did this and Trump did that. Trump supporters, you did this. You don't get to hide behind him and your belief in him anymore. If you're still unrepentant about it, if you still think it's okay, if you're still celebrating it, you are a cretin. And you are exactly the same as the people that when I went to Astoria and went to the Heritage Museum, I walked in and they had a racism exhibit. And they had a Ku Klux Klan robe and hood on display there, which I flipped off promptly, of course. And they said, how many, on the plaque it said, how many robes or memorabilia from the KKK does one museum need? And they talked about how should they present this. And I straight up said, the way that you have. You've told all the truth about it. And they said, we received this by an anonymous donor, which only proves how humiliating and embarrassing even owning something like this is. Hopefully we can show so that people know. And I hope you know, 30 years from now, it's going to be the MAGA merchandise that does that, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you know what? We'll be lucky if we're all here then. Because the way things that are going, I've my cognitive dissonance really has been dealing a lot with. I can't understand how I was raised the way that I am, to believe in human rights like I am, to have family that have still been duped by this, and having to come to terms with the fact that no matter what happens, some of them are just not going to come out of it, and they're just going to have to live with that shame forever. So yeah, you got a very limited time to start coming out of this. Nobody else is coming to save us. And if the founders are correct, we have to overthrow this ourselves.
Yep.
Where do we get started on that? I have no clue. I know that nobody wants to go out there and be the ones that are going and gung-ho doing something like the insurrection. Only they do that, right? But you got to understand, we're at the point now where they have so much power that if we don't keep fighting and we don't push forward, we're going to keep having scenarios like we just did in Coeur d'Alene in Idaho. You know, with the firemen that got lured so that they could be fired upon. Which, by the way, Coeur d'Alene was where Teresa Borenpool, the woman back in February, got taken out of the town hall where she was trying to ask questions about things.
Right.
I don't know, y'all. Going into our second half of the segment here, though, we're going to do our regular segments as much as we can. And I don't really have many protest tips, but Creative Pot, I did a lot of things in the last 3 days that I thought were pretty cool and definitely helped me in inspiring a little bit. Like, we went to Fort Clatsop and we seen Sacagawea's dress. There was one that was in the museum there, and also we got to go to the actual fort itself, which is still standing. There's tons of content that I've made about it, but we got to go into the room that she stayed in, walk through it, and see there was another dress of hers hung on the wall there. And so that was really cool. It was really nice walking through the forest there and just breathing the fresh air, the coastal mountain breeze, and really realizing the beauty that is America itself, which is the people and the land. It's not this horrible regime. It's not our government and the politics. It's not any of that. Being able to go and see these different places where really important historical figures walked and stayed and lived and breathed the same air, standing at the base of the trunk of trees that you know that they stood at. That's the kind of stuff that makes life worth living. And even in moments like this, in the most hopeless moments, that's what reminds you that lots of people have been here before and seen some really hopeless, terrible things. And the resilience of the land and the people is about the spirit that they continue to hold on to. This is supposed to be home of the free and the brave. Well, we might not be so free anymore, but we damn sure still are brave.
Mm-hmm.
They can't never take that away from us. They can try to strip us of everything else, but they cannot take away our voices or the power of independent thought and the ability to use independent thought and our voices to influence others to think for themselves, which are the biggest messages. Because life is finite. At the end of the day, fascism will always try to rear its head up somewhere, and there will always be a generation that has to be willing to fight it. This isn't something that we don't already know, Kindra, because we were raised with grandparents that fought it. We were told that before. It's not the first time either of us have heard that.
No, not at all. My great-grandfather said things like that all the time.
And that's what we're here for. And you know, it's not so much a want to have to be that. I mean, if I could live the entire life without having to ever deal with this, I would have been that's what my grandfather fought and bled for, was so that it wouldn't have to happen here. It was never supposed to come here. That's why they went over there. They shipped out to protect what was behind them because they loved what was behind them. Just like what I was just saying. All of that history, that land, all of those things, everything that was ever fought for in order to try to make the American experiment what it became. And here we are 250 years, basically. And that's about how long people thought it would take before we got to this point. But yeah, going out there and seeing that stuff's definitely good, and getting in touch with the land. And if you don't feel like you want to celebrate tomorrow, don't celebrate, but maybe go out and walk through the grass and sit out in the sun and drink a glass of tea, or maybe make it a Long Island one. But in either case, just, you know, try to find the little moments while you still do have your freedom and continue to resist, because at the end of the day, life is finite, and if we don't live it every day to the best that we got, then we're already giving up before we've even given ourselves a chance. And that's what they want us to do. Just lay down and take it. Because if you just lay down and take it, then nobody's resisting and there's nothing for them to fight. Because honestly, at the end of the day, oligarchs and fascists are lazy fucks.
Mm-hmm. They don't want to do anything.
They want us to do everything.
Roll over.
No, yeah. They have their followers to do the legwork. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the less resistance they have to deal with, the easier it makes them their lazy luxury life. Like, if he could stay in Mar-a-Lago every single day and have to do next to nothing except for golf, trust me, he would be doing that.
Oh, I'm sure. 1,000%.
Anyway, okay, so Bev, do you got anything for us on the mental health minute?
Yeah, actually, you know, I was going back and forth between what I was going to talk about, and I think it's extremely pertinent right now, with tomorrow being the 4th, talking about grief and how a lot of people might be grieving the loss of the country that they love. And I think that for a lot of us, we're feeling some kind of way and we don't know how to put a word on it. And honestly, that word is probably grief. And you don't even realize you're feeling it because you don't think of grief as being associated with a situation like this. But it's a sense of loss. We're losing connection. We're losing that sensation of being a part of something bigger than ourselves. We're losing, it's just as impactful as the death of a person, because it's almost like the death of our own lives in a certain way. Like all of our expectations have been crushed, all of our beliefs are being challenged, all of our hard-earned, hard-fought freedoms are being stripped away. So yeah, we grieve. You know, the stages of grief are real, and you know, I think a lot of people are still stuck in that first stage of just being in denial. This can't be happening. This isn't going to happen. There's no way this will happen. And that's this whole big, beautiful bill crap. You know, everybody was like, there's no way it's going to pass. There's no. It's just like, and they did the same thing whenever Trump went for office. There's no way he'll win. And then, oh, he'll be fine. There's no way he'll do all this stuff. And, you know, that denial is a bad place to be stuck in.
Yeah.
We've got to get through all those stages and get towards that 5th stage of acceptance, where we don't have to like it, but we do need to accept that it's the fact of our life now. And we have to use that to propel us forward. Because if change is going to be made, we have got to get out of that denial stage. You know, even the best people in the world are going to be struggling right now with that, either stuck in denial, stuck in anger. You know, some of us, you know, probably are still stuck in bargaining, you know, but until we reach that acceptance stage, we're not able to function fully, because just being angry isn't enough. Just, you know, anger is not enough anymore. And you know, the bargaining, you can't bargain with these people anyways. You know, it's not going to work. So we've got to get down, you know, and then there's some people that are stuck in that depression area who have given up. You know, that is a part of the population I know. You know, there's some people that are just like, you know, there's nothing I can do, so why should anybody try? It's going to happen no matter what. Those are all legitimate places to be, but until we get past all those areas into the world of acceptance and what the reality of the world is right now, we're not going to go forward. You can't move forward without acceptance. And does it suck? Sure does. Really sucks. And but it is what it is, and fighting that reality is not going to change that reality. You know, we have to accept that is what our reality is now, and then go and say, okay, how am I going to change this reality? This is what it is. It needs to change. How am I going to enact change? And the only way is to work through that grief, work through that longing for something that's missing. That, this isn't the, I've seen so many times, this isn't the country I grew up in. And that's true. It's not. And we're going to have to accept that country does no longer exist. And after this, it's not coming back. It's gone. And even after this, the world is going to be completely different. So this longing for, oh, well, we can fix things, we can get it back to the way it was, that's not going to happen. Not at all. It's just like when a person dies, you can't fix it. You are going to have to go forward. You are going to have to build something new. So, getting through that grief, I really recommend people look into some articles and things on dealing with grief. Because even if you don't feel like, even if you hesitate to name the emotion you're feeling as grief, it still could be grief when you start really doing some introspection, because it is just rampant right now. And there's 5 stages, and I see people stuck in all 5 of them. There's a few that are in the 5th stage and have accepted reality and are trying to make change, but the other 4 people are just getting mired down in them and stuck and not moving forward. And until people can get to that degree of acceptance, it's okay if you're stuck, though. That's the important thing. But it's also your job to get unstuck. So
I think that's really important, and I think I have something to share that kind of relates to that, because I just went on this trip and we went up the Astoria column, which is a 125-foot column in Astoria, Oregon. It's got 160 feet, 64 steps up. It's a spiral staircase up and down. The only way is these stairs. So my youngest son has a fear of heights, okay? And we were going on this thing. And he went in and everything, and he started going. And when we got to the second landing, which is probably about a quarter of the way up, he started to get freaked out. And he's like, I can't go anymore. And I said, okay, sit down for a minute and put your back against the walls, because he was kind of like acting like he was like hyperventilating, and I wanted him to cool down. And I was like, okay, we paid to do this. Take your breath, hold on. And I gave him a pep talk, and he's all, well, I'm scared, I really don't know. And I was like, well, let me tell you something. It's not that I'm not scared going up this. So I'm doing it because this is something I want to see, and I want to be able to say that I did it and I faced my fears. And I said, you know what, being brave is not being afraid. It's facing your fear and, pushing through it, even though it's hard. And in so many ways, with everything that's happening, that moment, we could have just stayed paralyzed there, stuck in the middle, the quarter of the way up that column, with no way to get past because we were so anxious or scared. But he talked to me, and I helped him and empowered him through it, and we pep talked, and then we went all the way up. And then when we got to the top, he was still scared. He was like, I really don't like being up here. But we still got to the top, looked over, we seen the bay and everything. And then we went back down. And then when we came back down the stairs after we were back in the car, he's all, I don't feel so scared anymore. I don't feel the same way about it like I did before. And I said, that's called a breakthrough, son. And sometimes the only way you actually get to see what you're made out of is by pushing through the wall.
I actually at work, you made me think of something that I've actually told a couple of people at work recently, and that's, be scared. You can be scared. Do it anyways.
Yep. That was the lesson here.
So.
And at the end of the day, look, I'm still his mom. Even though all this shit's happening, I need to raise this kid. Because he deserves the opportunity to experience things for as long as it's there. And so does everybody else's. So, and I know this is especially for you, Kindra, because you got a young one. He's got a great mom.
Yeah.
Just teach him the things that he knows. Try not, like somebody told me when they're my mentor, they told me one time, first of all, everything is small shit. Don't sweat the small shit. At the end of the day, the most important thing is like those moments where you're helping your kid make that breakthrough. Even though all the world's falling down, you're still raising a soldier. You see what I'm saying? Because that's
I'm
what it's
trying,
about.
because this kid's scared of nothing. Well, I won't say he's not scared of anything, because that can't be true. He's 4. But he's got a mom that is scared of everything. I am anxiety ridden. Everything terrifies me. And watching him grow up in this, knowing that unfortunately, we just have to keep pushing through it no matter what happens, and anything can affect our whole entire livelihood here. Yeah. And it's terrifying. And I just have to, instead of letting myself sit there and just wallow in that grief of I still have this child. I still have this son to raise, to not be a shit human being.
Yep.
And it's not even just that, but I want him to be stronger than I am. Because Lord knows I haven't been in the past, and I'm still not there. I'm working there to get there every single day. The environment I was raised in, the people that raised me, all maggots, I'm sure, because I don't talk to them anymore. I've been no contact for a long time. Just what I remember growing up with these people and what they tried to do after I cut them off, that there's no way around it. That's exactly what they are. And just knowing that I'm still raising him and I have to do this for him, that's enough to push me. And so if anybody who can't even just look at their children and realize that these children are what they really need to fight this hellscape for, what are you doing?
Yep. It is up to us.
And that's how I have to look at it.
And it is up to us to teach them the truth about everything, that to the best of our ability, because none of us know everything, and it's impossible to know everything. But to the best of our ability, everything that we know, we need to teach them, and we have got to not allow this regime to make us so numb that we lose sight of what matters the most, because that's what they want to do at the end of the day. If they can get the parents to just kind of give up and become all hopeless, then they're going to no longer be doing their job, and then they get to use those kids as human resources in whatever way they deem they want to use them. And the saddest thing, as that correlates especially to the Diddy's case, is the negotiation of bodies for horrible trafficking purposes. And let's just be real, if they would have set the precedent and actually held an example here, then all the kind of people who do things like that would have learned a bigger lesson. But yet here, again, once again, it's, oh no, nobody's going to hold anybody accountable for the fact that we know that they've trafficked underage people for the purpose of perversity. And we're going to continue to see more and more brown children that are placed in different systems that are going to supply that chain of demand. So if we don't teach our children to protect themselves, how to be soldiers, what to look out for, what their government was actually made about before this became whatever this country is now, they won't. So that they can keep them indoctrinated, ignorant, and under their thumb of control until they no longer deem them worthy of living and their use no longer needed. And I know that sounds very morbid, but that's the reality. So the only people that are going to do it are us. So for those of you who have children, that alone has got to be your everyday. Find something to hold on for. Find something that refuels you. If you have to take a break away from the news, like even when I was on vacation, I was still getting different news. It's undeniably there. But I was at times going, you know what? No, because today I'm honoring Sacagawea. You see what I'm saying? Like today My
Mm-hmm.
celebration for 4th of July is I'm going to honor this Native American woman that was a hero in this country. So, that is what I got for today. Do you want to talk any bit about your plants or anything real quickly before we close up here, Kendra?
My goodness, just in the scheme of everything, my issue going on just seems so small. No, so I'd say probably about half of my garden has been pretty much decimated by the neighborhood peacocks,
Why does this feel
unfortunately.
like it's relevant to Trump? Think about this.
Why? Right. You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. Like, oh my gosh. So they started coming around maybe week and a half ago, and we're still trying to figure out exactly who owns them. Because here they're pets. They're not native, right? Like
Right.
everybody knows. Like, so who do they belong to? Where are they coming from? And so they started coming around. First, they were just kind of pecking around the yard, not a big deal. Maybe killed a marigold seedling that was like barely like this big, not a big deal. It's okay. But then I have this wonderful bed that's filled with kale that I've been growing for freaking ever. And these beans that my mother sent me, purple beans, and they were doing really well. They had flowers, they even starting to produce, and then here come the peacocks. And the peacocks decided that they were going to not only walk in the bed, they were going to scratch in the bed, uproot all of the soil and all of the plants in there, and then decided to try to make a nest in it and completely obliterated everything in there.
Oh.
So I'm starting over. Yeah. And like I said, it just seems like such a small thing compared to everything, but to me it's so huge just because we're trying really hard for sustainability at our house. Like if anything happens, we don't want to have to depend on anything. We want to be able to depend on ourselves. And this was part of that grand experiment, get us to a place where if it came down to it, we didn't have to. Like we were here, we could take care of ourselves on our own, didn't have to depend on the food system, or like if we didn't have money to go buy anything from the store, we have it right here. That was the whole point. So now there's just gone, and we have this kind of like mesh cage thing around my blueberry bushes, originally meant to keep caterpillars from eating my blueberry bushes because we get caterpillars really bad here, and they're trying to get that off of there so they can get to the blueberry bushes. So I'm like, okay, this is not okay. And my husband has made cracks about, I've heard peacock tastes a lot like chicken, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going that route. I no. I don't want that. But I mean, they're doing that, and now I have all these seedlings on my porch. It's been raining so hard, I can't even leave them out, and they're our porch is pretty much like it's got like a 3 foot like perimeter around it, and because it's attached to our deck, and those bastards flew over the gate to get to the porch and were eating our cat's food. And I was like, okay, so it's going to be the cat's food, and then it's going to be everything else that I've worked so hard for on that porch. So we just have to figure out ways to keep them out of everything now, like everything, or figure out a way to get them to leave and not come back. And so we've been looking up all these different kinds of things now, trying to figure out exactly what to do. And one small, simple little solution that we found online was pinwheels. So we're going to give it a shot and see what happens. They're cheap. You can find them at the dollar store. They're everywhere. It's summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that they work, and I'm sorry that they came in there. I mean, worst case scenario, if it was a fallout time around, I'm sorry, neighbor, your peacocks came in here at the wrong time and we're hungry.
Absolutely. Sorry, they're currently in my freezer.
We already
Yeah.
ate them. I don't know what to tell you. But
I don't want to have to, but it might come down to it. Who knows?
I mean, in all sincerity, that's the way it is. Like if it were the old days and that was your homestead and some random birds came in and killed your garden, you were probably eating them for dinner. Because you
Oh,
were eating
absolutely.
something for dinner. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's the reality. And come on, people, seriously, watch your fowl.
I know. I mean, I'm cool with the chickens. The chickens don't hurt anything. Like, whenever their chickens get free, it's fine. They're not bothering anybody. They're just clucking around the yard eating whatever they find. But the peacocks, man, they get into everything and they have those big talons. They scratch everything, they damage everything. And I am so over it.
All right, well, that's all that I had for tonight. Is there anything else you guys want to close out on, or are you good?
I got nothing.
Yeah, I'm out.